Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog podcast, this time talking about New Countermeasures Series 1. It's odd when you think about this being Series 1. I mean, after all, we had the death of Toby Kinsella, well, the apparent one, in the last special. Bizarrely, with that being said, at Christmas, it just feels like it just happened, but of course that release was some time ago. Now we've got Series 1. Yes, I know you were paying attention and I know you're aware of what it is. Countermeasures is glorious. You see, it so easily could have just been, well, Unit or even Torchwood these days. But it's so not. Countermeasures is the ITC series that never really happened. It's absolute genius what they've done at Big Finish. Now we know, from a real-world point of view, that around 1988 there was a story set in 1963 that had the Intrusion Countermeasures group in it. We all know this. It's something that's just part of us growing up. But if we suspend our disbelief for just a moment, you've got countermeasures existing in 1963, a 1960s TV series like Danger Man, or, as I've said in the past, The Avengers. Now let's use The Avengers as the benchmark for this. The first few series of countermeasures existed in an almost black and white world, like the early episodes of The Avengers. And then you felt it almost moved to colour, like the episodes of The Avengers with Emma Peel, and of course my personal favourite Tara King. And then, at the end of the Tara King era, The Avengers fades away. And what they did with countermeasures is, they finished a 1960s run. I was sad thinking that the series was finished, but that was never really the intent. The intent was to bring it back and move the whole thing on a decade. Because like so many other series, ITC and, well, many other companies, they brought back the Avengers in the 1970s with the New Avengers. Now, admittedly, with the New Avengers, you got a new cast. You kept Steed, but you still had the basic same program with a 70s touch. Now, if you want to be completely pedantic, the Avengers eventually changed into the Professionals. It's got a very similar background, a secret government organisation, but it is of course a lot more gritty. A through line can be made, an argument can be made for this development in real life television. So what they've done with countermeasures is they've taken this as inspiration. Yes, you've got your Jason Kings and your Department S's happening in real life, in television in the 70s in the UK. These have been used as a benchmark, an evolution point, where you can draw countermeasures from, and you can hear it. You've got a lot more international travel. Yes, admittedly, it's going to be taking place in a sort of green screen, blue screen type thing, back projection. You can almost see it as they're driving along the windy cliff roads. White Jaguars going over cliffs, that kind of thing. So if you're a fan of that kind of TV, and yes, I have failed to mention some of the more obvious things like The Saint, which of course existed in one form in the 60s and a slightly different form with Ian Ogilvy. You know what I mean. All of these things went in circles. There are examples of it happening, things, reference points. And so we have new countermeasures, like the New Avengers. And just like the New Avengers, they've taken the original theme tune and given it a bit more of a military symbol thing going on in the background. It's exactly the same theme tune, but it's not exactly the same theme tune. It's the sort of thing that would catch you out on a pub quiz, but I can't see the Countermeasures theme tune being used in a pub quiz unless it's at a very specific convention. So what have we got? Well, obviously, they're trying to show the evolution of the programme. Yes, the actors sound a little bit older, and they have their new base in the funky 1970s, well, BT Tower, or indeed Post Office Tower as it was then. I can't help but reference Survivors, where a similar story takes place in the Post Office Tower post-apocalyptic, but that's not important. What you've got here are 4 very individual tales that you can imagine being in incredible colour, and you can imagine buying them on Blu-ray because you liked the series so much in the first place. 4 very different stories, of which I'll talk a little about, but you know me, giving away spoilers just isn't my cup of tea. So if I've already whetted your appetite, stop listening to this review now, because they're great. I mean, truly, if you like them, that's brilliant. If you're expecting some sort of ongoing arc, well, that might be a little bit of a disappointment, unless the seeds of this arc have been sown so ridiculously carefully as to not be noticeable at all by this particular reviewer. You've got stories that are reminiscent, I'll grant you, of Hitchcock's The Birds, but then again, that's mentioned in passing in the film. It knows its references, and of course, it is just slightly more scary than that. You've got claustrophobic, weird science going on, with an absolutely superb submarine story. Oh, the atmosphere and the way it was shot, or recorded. You could see it. Beyond belief, it was great, and you could see the vibrant colours that were going on the external location shooting. Yes, it has become so much more international. The first story, admittedly, has similarities with some of the stuff that we experienced in the first few series of Countermeasures. Nothing to See Here by Guy Adams has a spy and, well, admittedly, and I'm sorry I keep saying this, an ITC feel to it. It is one of the stories that could have felt at home in the Avengers, or even one of the more obscure Saint stories. Things are going on that could have happened in an episode of The Prisoner, but not particularly in the world of Doctor Who. It's not quite Torchwoody enough, because they've got more aliens than this. But you know what? It's great. One of the things that occurred to me while I was listening to this is I was always banging on about saying that there should be some sort of crossover, between Unit and Torchwood and Countermeasures, and oh, how marvellous it would be. And I suppose that's the sort of thing as fans we always want. But they're difficult to write, and they're difficult to keep true to their nature, and they just mess up everyone's timeline and continuity. The more I listen to this story, the more I don't want that, in the same way that, although as a child I wanted Daleks to meet Cybermen, when the reality actually happened, you know what I mean. Perhaps I'm just old-fashioned. Perhaps I should like my things pure in their storytelling. After this, Nothing to See Here, which, on some levels, is merely a crime caper, but on some other levels is a character piece of the highest standing. We have Troubled Waters by Ian Porter, which of course is the incredibly claustrophobic submarine story. The Phoenix Strain is the one that has similarities to The Birds, but then again, that's just the background, the set dressing for the storyline to actually happen. It's so much darker, and so much more, well, reminiscent of, say, Survivors. The 70s had a definitely apocalyptic feel. And there's just the right level of mentions of historical events like miners' strikes and 3 days weeks, just to keep your interest going and give it that concrete setting. And finally, A Gamble with Time by John Dorney. It plays with our expectations on such a level as to make you, well, impressed. Again, this is a story that I would recommend you listen to without telling you too much about. Yes, there are highfalutin gambling stakes, there are roulette wheels and baccarat tables, and the sort of thing that we like in our spy stories. Why spies would learn to gamble is beyond me. I'm much more of the, well, Michael Caine end of spying than the James Bond end. bored civil servants complaining about their pensions had a much more greater feel than a man with a watch that could take the zip of a lady's dress down for no adequately explored reason. How would you get that past the research and development budget? That's not important. What is important is that this set of 4 discs is a major news jumping on point. You don't need to have even seen or heard what happened to Toby Kinsella. None of this matters. These are individual, brilliant stories. And I, for one, will be waiting for Series 2 with all of my heart. Of course, it's not Series 2, it's going to be something like release number 7. And you know what? If the Doctor was to turn up in these stories, perhaps it shouldn't be McCoy. Yes, the 7th Doctor has an ongoing love-hate relationship with them, but perhaps it should be a different one. It would be marvellous if Tom, in his 70s world, could pop in. But then again, like the first episode of Class, as the story develops along its own lines, the Doctor's involvement becomes more and more questionable. So perhaps the Doctor should never really reappear with countermeasures again, unless the world is in danger. Of course, what do I know? I'm just a fan with a strange sense of entitlement. And with that, I'll fade away and come back very soon, probably talking about Doctor Who. So until then, be seeing you.
Coming soon from Big Finish Productions.
Sonyari.
Grand opening
of the Sonyari Hotel, a high-class resort near St. Moritz.
The New Countermeasures, Series 1 box set.
If you do your job, I let you live. But cross me again, question me at all, and I will kill you.
You're going undercover? Why not go undercover in style?
The stories from MI5 suggest that Lady Claire is currently specialising in the trade of alien weapons tech.
What are we waiting for? We have a hotel to rob. Open your safe. Do it quickly, do it now. That way you won't get hurt.
Handsome lad. Sailor, is he? Think we've all known a sailor gone missing.
HMS Reynard is one of a unique class of submarine that doesn't officially exist. It is involved in a highly delicate espionage program.
Dark stuff then, eh?
What was that?
What?
Exactly what a psychic spy program needs.
Okay, everybody, gather round. So, this is Parliament Square.
It's more commonly known as bird flu.
Bird flu?
Some eyewitnesses claimed that a few pigeons displayed aggressive behaviour.
No, I'll get her. You lot keep going. On your feet here, under the shield.
Good afternoon, madam. Welcome to the Hotel Claire. How may I help you?
I'm gaining on her. I'm going to try and force her off the road.
Big Finish. We love stories.
You've heard it said that time is money, yes?
Sure. But after today, you'll have all the time in the world.
That was the Doctor Who Tin Dog Podcast, available on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, RSS, Vimeo, and across the internet. Doctor Who and its associated properties are all copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Why not become a supporter by visiting patreon.com/tindog. Contact the show on tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.